This week on Two Noobs, in the What the Hell Took You So Long department, Meta being sued for being a detriment to kids' mental health. Then the Fed wants to cut swipe fees for debit card transactions. But won't someone please think of the poor banks? Next, the irony of the CEO of a company in virtual gaming claiming creativity is better when employees are in the office. Finally, we jam it in there with 3 articles about the airline industry. They're actually doing the right things for once, except the last guy. Not so great. Listen, it wasn't a shot. It just slipped out of my hands. Start the music. It is episode 160, the first of Two Noobs Talking. We are the true masters of horror. If you didn't catch episode 160, we came up with some bang-up horror movie ideas. You got to go check it out. It's just fantastic. Yeah. By the way, website twonoobstalking.wordpress.com. Find out more there. But I'm with these 2 gentlemen here, and we're going to do another episode. Not horror. Well, some of it might be horror when you think about it. But, we'll get to that in a little bit. Halloween is not over for us, but it's over for you, the listener, viewer. So we can't recap anything because it hasn't happened for us yet. It's like a time machine. This podcast. It's amazing.
There you go.
But over here on that side, we have Jumbotron John Tracy.
There you go.
Over here, we got mezzanine level Matt Craig.
There you go.
And I in the middle am steak sandwich Steve Murray. How's it going?
I was going to say like Sweet Box Steve Murray if you're going to go that way. Steve,
I know. You know, I didn't even think of that. Sweets is good.
Oh, by the way, I'm bougie as hell. The last 4-5 times I was at a Philadelphia sporting event, I was in a suite, so I don't even want to hear about seats. I don't want seats no more.
But you got to sit with the people, John.
No, I refuse. I don't like the people. I've told you this.
Well, the summertime apparently has returned here in the mid-Atlantic region. Mr. Tracy, how are things sweltering down in Texas, if you don't mind my asking?
Weird. It's rained all week, but it's been 70. But now we're slowly getting into the 50s, the 30s, and the 40s. This is only going to last like 11 minutes, but it's going to happen. So it's going to be hoodie at 5 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. Hoodie comes off at 6. Long sleeve shirt till 11. And then t-shirt until 5. And then when I come home, I'll be in shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops, basically. That's how that's going to work out next week.
So it's like fall to spring, back to fall again, probably.
Yeah, in a 12-hour shift.
In a 12-hour year, yeah. Or a 12-hour day or something like that, yeah. That's funny.
Wow. Well, the good news is Matt has found his balls.
Yes.
So how are you doing, Mr. Craig?
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that, Steve, very much. I have found my balls.
This before we go on.
Musket balls, thank you very much. Good Lord Almighty.
You left yourself open to it. It's your fault.
Yeah, I know.
Don't show someone the balls before the
Don't show someone the balls without being specific. Got it. Okay. Other than that, things are great. Things are really, really great. Can't believe this weather. It's like unbelievable to be treated to this spring-like weather really for the last gasp until next week. Well, really, when this podcast comes out, we will be in hoodies. We will be in long sleeves. It's supposed to get colder. So maybe that cold that John has already, that's going to make it
coming for you.
North. It's coming for us, man.
We just make it and throw it at you guys. It's a thing. It's Texas is known for that. We just make cold weather and then throw it at people so they get cold because we don't like it down here.
Might as well. Yeah, might as well. Yeah. So, but other than that, yeah, things are good. I want to shout out my father, who we've had on the podcast way back in episode 9. Check it out there in the upper right corner.
Superman.
He, for the 3rd time, had been inducted into some sort of Hall of Fame. This one was for the Pennsylvania Department of Military Affairs. It's Department of Military, Military and Veterans Affairs. I want to make sure that I get that right. Pennsylvania
Nice.
Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. They essentially help run the Air and Army National Guard in the state, as well as 6 veterans homes throughout the entire state of Pennsylvania. And on Wednesday of last week, he was officially inducted in their Hall of Fame for outstanding service. He got presented with a Meritorious Service Medal. Family was up there, and we all made the trek up, and it was just absolutely fantastic. And couldn't be prouder as a son of my dad as well. But yeah, it's just unbelievable to see what he has done in his career. And immediately, what was wonderful was the fact that he deflected what could have been something that, yeah, look at me, look at me, look at me. Immediate deflection to the troops. That's all what he's always been about. He's always loved his troops. And it's like, if it, he gets all, he rightly deserves the accolades, but it's not because of him. It's because of the troops that he serves and that he loves. And so
Would he
that's great.
consider running for office?
We have talked about that,
Yes.
him running for president of the United States, that kind of a deal. And my mom's kind of like, I don't know.
I would take House of Representatives. I would
Yes,
take House of
yes.
Representatives. Doesn't
Yeah,
have to be
PA,
president.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, or House of Representatives would be
Something
great, but
to trade an idiot for an actual
Yes,
good
just
human
please,
being.
can we?
yeah.
And if there's any people out there, that are like Matt's dad, you guys should think about running for office also. If you're fine,
Please.
upstanding people, please, we would love to vote for you. If you're a
Yeah.
normal, fine, upstanding person that isn't a corrupt POS, we're glad to switch those guys out. It's
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, 100%. So yeah, that's been pretty much it. But yeah, that was last
Awesome.
week.
Well,
So
big
yeah,
congratulations. We are proud. We are very proud.
no doubt.
Thank
no doubt.
him for all his service next time you see him.
We'll do.
Love
yeah,
it.
we'll do. So there you go.
Congratulations, Mr. Craig, but not you, Mr. Craig.
Yes,
The-
not you, Mr. Craig.
The
senior
real Mr. Craig. Yeah.
Real Mr. Craig.
Congratulations,
You're just a
for knowing
mezzanine
Mr.
level.
Craig.
Exactly.
You're just a mezzanine level. So anyway,
No.
but
Not showing off, not falling behind.
I'm giving up my sweet box now. He's got it. I'm down.
Exactly.
I'm outside in the parking lot.
well, all right. Speaking of mezzanine level Matt Craig, we are going to him for our fun fact today, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Dubby Energy Drinks. Visit dubby.gg, D-U-B-B-Y. If I say that too fast, it's D-U-B-B-Y.gg. Enter the promo code Too Noobs Talking. That's T-O-O-N-O-O bzz talking.
Yes.
All one word. Get 10% off your order. John will personally hand deliver it to your front door.
Yes. Even though I don't like you people.
And you will be forced to sit with him for an hour for a conversation, just for his own benefit.
And it's going to be a weird one too.
Given what you did with your horror movie, I'm sure that's the
Yeah,
case.
yeah.
Oh, exactly.
All right, Mr. Craig. Oh, sorry, not Mr. Craig. Matt, with the fun fact, please, sir, enlighten us.
Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty depressing, obviously, gents. Looking at the standings board there, we didn't quite exactly show up in Game 7.
You should put that off the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been debating that, kind of reorganizing and putting back the standings, as it is.
I'd
But
have
at least the
ripped it off and
D-backs
thrown it
lost the
already.
Game 1. Yeah. But it's easy to get depressed. But thinking especially, I want to shout out a good friend of mine that I work with, my current organization, Mike, who happens to be a huge New York Mets fan.
We don't like him already.
Yes.
Why, I don't know, but he's a huge New York Mets fan, and he's just rubbing it in. He just absolutely loves the Mets, particularly when it came to this Game 7. Obviously, we choked and whatever. But I took a look at it, gents, and the fun fact this week is from 1962, when the sorry-ass Mets joined the National League, I
Fake
wanted
franchise.
to compare. Yeah, I wanted to compare how, who, in the standings, who's ahead of who at the end of each season, right? But I did not want to count 1994. That was a strike-shortened and basically canceled season. And also, to be fair, COVID was really an asterisk season. That was just 2 months of playing in front of nobody. That's not a baseball season
That
either.
was dumb. It was Spencer Strider's dream come true.
There
Yes,
you
it
go.
was.
So from 1962 all the way to 2023, excluding 94 and 2020, the Phillies have been ahead of the Mets in the standings 33 times. The reverse, the Mets have been ahead of the Phillies 26 times. They only tied once.
Excellent.
So the fun fact is that the Phillies have always been ahead of the Mets and will continue to be ahead of the Mets every single year.
And we
Well,
were
at
a
least-
shitty franchise for so long.
Oh, yeah, we were awful. Yeah, we were awful. So that's your fun fact for the week.
All I have to say to that is 7 with 17. Was
Yeah.
that the numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Yeah, exactly.
7
Yeah.
up with 17 to play. Yeah, just remember that.
Yeah.
Mets fans.
Yep.
There you go.
All right. Well, John, you have an over 40 something or other.
Yes, it's more of
You
a.
refuse to call it a rant, which pisses me off. So I'm going to rant that you don't have a rant.
I mean,
I
you could
yield the floor,
probably.
sir.
It's just a question, but you'll probably rant on
Okay.
this. So, I was watching the Phillies, and I was having a conversation with my dad and a couple other people, including both of my sons and one other person, and I was mesmerized by the red jerseys that they wear sometimes on the road in certain days, and I started to think about it, and I got into a group conversation about this, where should they be the road jersey? Because I liked them so much more than I liked the gray ones.
Ooh.
And then I went down the rabbit hole. That was just the start. I went down the rabbit hole and said, well, would anybody ever consider, like, you know how Pittsburgh, they have their 3 teams that have all the colors?
Mhm.
Would that be something that Philadelphia would do? That's
No.
question number 1. And
No.
Okay.
with the comeback of all these jerseys, the baby blues that everybody wants them, they want the baby blues to be worn all the time, and they want the Kelly green to be worn all the time. Would that, my second question to that is, would that lose the brilliance of them if we saw them all the time, like we used to when we were kids?
Or would you
Yes.
treat it as a regular throwback?
Yes.
Yes
So,
to the second, no to the first.
So
Okay.
would you want them to come back all the time, the Kelly greens and the baby blues, at like the Flyers burn orange, as their primary jersey, or do you want to keep them as a throwback kind of thing, as like a third jersey kind of thing?
Yeah, I would probably, for me, I would want the baby blues as a throwback, throw it into the rotation every once in a while. Not all the time, but just to keep it within the bloodstream of the Phillies. I mean, they are really sweet. They are like a really cool jersey.
Yeah, they are really nice.
But to have them all the time, nah. Because I think now they're the traditional red, white, and blue. And and the Phillies pinstripe red has always been like iconic in that organization for years.
We don't use that word around here.
Iconic?
No, we don't.
Oh, sorry.
It's one of the,
I do.
It's one
So
of the
that's
7
my
dirty
point.
words.
Got it. Maybe I'll next time get that memo. But anyway, I think just the baby blues just every once in a while. And the same with the Kelly Greens. Okay, they look great against Miami. And they won, by the way, with that, and it's great. But again, have it in rotation, but not every week. I think that would get old and stale. I think the change to the midnight green works. You know, it's controversial at the time, but we got over it and we started to win with them. And we went to Super Bowls winning with them. So that has something to say with it in that regard. That's just my personal
I
opinion.
absolutely agree.
Yeah. Steve, what do you think?
I'm with you. Keep them in the rotation, but not full time.
Yeah.
I think, as John said, it would lose some of its luster
Yes.
if you wear them all the time, and then
Yeah.
you forget what decade you're in, and all hell breaks loose.
But
They
the
are
red
nice.
jerseys,
The
they're
red
solid
jerseys, I don't like them.
You don't
Toss
like them
them
at
out.
all?
No, because you know why? Because it makes me look like it looks like they're in spring training.
Yes,
one of the
yes,
worst.
Yeah.
that was something. I'm tired of the gray. The gray. The only thing cool about the gray on gray is when JT Realmuto goes gray, 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 and you forget he's back there because he literally looks like a wall because
Yeah.
he overlaps it. That's the only cool thing about it. I thought it
Mm.
was cooler when he had the red jersey and the gray on top of that. I thought it looked better.
Mm.
And maybe
Interesting.
Chris Webber hit a home run that game. Maybe that's why I like him so much. I have no idea. But
Maybe.
that was my question. Like, would you change that? I don't change their home jersey, but would you change their away jersey to something different? Because that gray, just straight gray, is ugh. It reminds
Had
me of
that
the shitty Yankees
years.
and the Mets and all that. Like they all have gray, and I just want to get away from that.
I'm not feeling it. Of
Yeah,
course,
they've
you sacrilegiously suggested that they all should go to the same color scheme,
No,
like
but
in
that's
Pittsburgh.
I've
I feel
always
like you
I've
should be
always
punished.
I've always asked that question because I think that's cool that Pittsburgh is that way. I don't want it for us, but I just think it's a cool thing to where when you put the logos up, they all have the same color scheme. I like it. I think it's cool for them. It's not a major city kind of thing. It's definitely a second city or a small city franchise thing that you would do
An
that.
inferior city.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't see New York or Philadelphia or LA tried that many moons ago, and that needed to stop because watching hockey with purple is weird. It's just weird.
Yeah, I'm with
All right,
you
well,
on that.
if you're not gonna rant, I would go on a mini rant.
Please.
For God's sake, what the hell was up with that officiating in the Sixers-Bucks game? Oh my God. Giannis didn't travel. It slipped out of his hands. It wasn't a shot attempt.
Oh yeah.
What?
Also,
And you would send. Go ahead.
let me help with this rant. It seems in all sports now they have these extra explaining words instead of just either calling a penalty or not. They used to, when we were younger, be like, "You saw it, I saw it. I'm not saying a word," and you would be mad. Now they go, "Well, what had happened was this guy toe got stepped on, and then he fell, and then domino effect, and the elbow was not an elbow; it was a thing over here that didn't happen that you saw." Why do they do that now? I don't just lie to me like you have my entire life. I'm okay with it. I get over it quickly. I call you an idiot. I do my quick little rant, and then I'm on to the next play. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Well, the no shot attempt was probably the most ridiculous one.
Yeah.
But I also was baffled by when they rescinded a foul because it was marginal contact. I have never heard the phrase in all my
marginal contact.
Marginal contact in NBA basketball.
Oh, don't worry. In
Like,
the playoffs,
I don't even know
that's
how to
gonna
even
change.
define that.
Yeah, that's going to change.
How would
in
you
the playoffs
define
as
that
soon
in
as they make
basketball
it.
terms? Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you get LeBron
How would you
another ring. Marginal contact.
How-
He only marginally contacted him on the way to the hoop
Oh my god.
while not having control of the ball and elbowing somebody.
We can't give Giannis his fifth foul, so marginal contact. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They are all that bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, they're ruining our mental health. And speaking of mental health, we'll go to topic one.
Good
How you like
segue.
that for a transition?
Nice segue. Nice.
TechCrunch article: Why only 42 states came together to sue Meta over kids' mental health. Attorneys general from dozens of states sued Meta last week, accusing the company of deliberately designing its products to appeal to kids to the detriment of their mental health. Sounds like cigarette companies a while back, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Exactly.
In the lawsuit filed in California federal court Tuesday, 33 states argue that Meta violated state and federal laws in the process of luring young users in the U.S. into spending more time on Facebook and Instagram.
Oh boy.
Over the past decade, Meta has profoundly altered the psychological and social realities of a generation of young Americans, the lawsuit states, accusing the company of harnessing powerful and unprecedented technologies to entice, engage, and ultimately ensnare youth and teens in the name of profit. The lawsuit highlights a few ways that Meta has allegedly violated laws protecting young consumers, maximizing the time and attention of children on its platforms, leveraging addictive product design while publicly downplaying risks to kids and ignoring research, both internal and external, that suggests social platforms can harm young users.
No.
There is evidence that excessive and problematic social media use has been linked to sleep problems, attention problems, and feelings of exclusion among young people, California Attorney General Rob Bonta said in a press conference. This really sounds an awful lot like the cigarette litigation.
And it's almost identical.
It almost sounds like it. John, I'll go to you first for this. Happy? They're going after the Meta? I know you hate Meta, but taking your personal feelings from Mark Zuckerberg aside.
Yes and no. Like, I'm glad they are filing this lawsuit because they do need to do their part in help. I've said this a million times. The government needs to have more control over these. They can't just run freely. We've talked about planes, we've talked about trains, we've talked about automobiles. The Fed is all over them with rules and regulations, and they're over. Well, we don't say anything. Like, they need to be federally regulated at some point. Radio and TV are, so social media should be also. That's always been my stance. I don't think it's solely on them. Me and my wife talked about this after I brought this. You guys brought this article to me. We were having a discussion the other night, and we kept coming back to it's a parent thing more than a federal government thing. So hopefully the parent thing will help create a better environment for the children, because if there is no parenting, Meta's a dangerous place. Trust me.
No question.
My wife will say it all the time. She has told me a couple times, like when the Phillies lost, she was like, you need to get off that. Like, stop worrying about that, because it takes you down a rabbit hole. It shows you everything you don't want to see. It's just the way it is. But parenting needs to. We have a rule. We have a 10-year-old, and there is no Facebook until you can afford your own phone. You're not going to be on social media. You're not even getting a phone until you can afford your own phone. Because we've seen with other children the success of not giving into the peer pressures of the world. I don't believe that a small child needs a phone with no restrictions. There can be a phone, but it better be, in my life, it better be very parental controlled and very understood. There's a tablet that gets used that is not. There are strict rules behind it, and when it's time to turn it off, it gets turned off. It's just the way it is. You're not allowed to be free in the world as a child. I refuse to let that happen.
Great. Yeah, my kids, their phones, much to their chagrin, turn off automatically at 9:00 p.m. unless
Isn't
I
that
specifically allow it. Oh, it's fantastic.
How awesome is that?
They don't switch back on until 7 a.m. It's a beautiful thing.
That's a beautiful thing.
I mean, obviously, if one of them's out late, I can deactivate it so that they can call me or whatever if they need it. But most nights, they are home at 9:00. Done.
And that
Time
has
to go to bed.
If someone is listening to this that doesn't have control over the social media and are having trouble, look to the parental stuff. It is very important to understand when you buy a device. I dive into it immediately. It's the first thing I do. Like when we bought the tablet, I dive in and try to figure out all the things. What can I control? Everything on that tablet is hooked to my wife's phone. So whatever is clicked pops up on her phone immediately.
Fantastic.
And that's just the way it should be. You cannot. The internet is like when we were children. It literally would be like our parents just throwing us out of the house and being like, "Good luck. You're 12. You'll figure it out." Like that's what the internet is.
Yeah, that's great. I'm really glad to hear out of both of you in regards to that and how you've really have set like the boundaries is what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
We're
you
talking
have to.
about
Yeah.
setting an absolute boundary with regards to this because you're right. I mean, we all three of us grew up in it, when the internet was essentially being born, thanks to Al Gore. Al Gore
Yeah.
created the
Yeah.
internet, so there you go.
Thanks, Al.
Um,
Idiot.
yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. But I mean, it, it's huge because I think all three of us know the dark web that's out there, right? I
Mhm.
mean, at the end of the day, and especially when it comes to apps like Instagram and things along those lines, where I couldn't agree more with this lawsuit, and I'm glad it was brought up. To be perfectly honest, that at least this is something that the administrative state, the governments all around are basically saying, "Hey, look, Meta, we appreciate you, but I mean, come on, what you're doing right now is you're harming the self-esteem, I guess you could say, of all the kids out there right now. You're
And
putting out
adults.
false and adults
Yep.
too. You're putting out false things. That's another thing. All of these accounts that pop up that aren't true. I don't know what
Mhm.
I forget. I know there's a term for it that escapes me right now, but they're bots. They're fake.
Hmm.
They're fake too. You know that they are. But a
We
kid
know.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, we know,
Yeah.
but a kid that's like 10, 12, 15, they're not going to know. They're not going to know it at all. And so for this lawsuit to be ongoing, I think it's great. But the key is really not to treat something like this as a what I would like to call a digital pacifier. You don't give this to a kid to discipline them,
That is
essentially.
a
Like, okay,
great.
like if they're acting up, you don't give them this to say, hey, I need you to shut up now. No, you take your kid away and you say, I need you to behave right now. Otherwise, we're going to discipline you at home until you get your act together. Don't throw a phone at them for them to get distracted. That doesn't help. That does not help at all in that regard.
And we're gonna get to rowdy children in confined
Yes.
spaces in a later topic. But the
What a
this
shock.
article continues.
Yeah.
This article continues. The attorneys general point to the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA, a law that
Yeah.
they say, yeah, COPPA, yeah,
They don't have
Yeah.
a law
someone
that
that
they
reads
say.
over that and just makes sure. Like, for all the government positions that we have, that's not one of them.
Yeah.
A law that they say Meta runs afoul of by collecting data from users under age 13 without obtaining parental consent. Beyond COPPA, the lawsuit argues that Meta violates state consumer protection laws with its business practices targeting young users. The big tech trade group Chamber of Progress, or COP, pushed
Nice.
back against the lawsuit, arguing that social media's impact on kids and teens skews positive, not negative. Big tech is an easy political punching bag, but the reality is that large empirical studies don't suggest social media is the driver behind mental health trends among teens, COP CEO Adam Kovacevic said. Yeah, screw
And
you.
brutal liar, by the way.
Word
Anyway.
vomit. Word vomit is exactly what that is.
Paul Barrett, deputy director and senior research scholar at the NYU Stern Center for Business and Human Rights, or NewSkBR, said the
I'll
state
allow that.
AGs. He said the state AGs are betting that there is enough evidence of harm to certain vulnerable children that Meta will not want to fight indefinitely in the court of public opinion, even if the company believes it can proffer contradictory evidence suggesting that some kids may benefit from properly supervised platform use. Ultimately, the optics of a long battle between the social media giant and a bipartisan coalition comprised of most U.S. states over children's safety might be too much for Meta to bear. So it sounds like this lawsuit, gentlemen, is more about bullying Meta into a settlement than the ultimate result.
Yeah.
You okay with that? I guess.
I mean,
End game.
Yeah, I mean, one step at a time, I guess, would be my thought process on that, Steve. To be honest with you, you're not going to change big tech overnight, but I mean, it is absolutely clear that what they're essentially allowing. I mean, let's face it. When they have difficulty, when big tech has difficulty trying to regulate free speech on their own social media platforms. And they're having a very hard, difficult time with that. What makes you think that they're really looking out for kids' interests on the internet? I mean, it is not happening. So if there's something that the governments can do to kind of bully this, this particular organization to saying, look at the harm that you are causing a lot of the youth right now because of what you're putting out there, what you're allowing, that makes, that should hopefully get them to kind of look internally and say, okay, what can we do? Is there anything that we can do to try and stop something like this? So that way we don't have to go through something like this again.
Well, look, I mean, they're in this position of having to bully because Congress has not been able to pass a law to regulate this properly.
Shocker.
And God knows if they'll ever be in a position to be able to do that. Mr. Craig, run for House of Representatives.
Yeah, Dad, come on.
John, last word.
Yeah, this is like you just said with this is the end game is the only game you have, because you need to we've had these federal regulations before. Cigarettes, like you said, TV, radio, they've all been at a point where they had a little bit too much rain and the federal government had to rein them in. This is the only way they have to fix the issue they have, is to bully them into agreeing, put their money against the federal regulation, and you're probably going to win after a while, because Zuckerberg and his investors are not going to want to pay billions of dollars over and over again, and he will hopefully submit to some kind of federal regulation. I'm not talking about the whole thing. It doesn't need the Fed all over it, but it needs certain guidelines to curb their behavior.
I mean, it really is just them. Hey, so you guys are against child safety?
Yeah, that literally is what they're saying.
Good luck fighting against that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, in the meantime, make sure that your kids check us out on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube for hours and hours and hours. Your children need to be locked in on Two Noobs Talking. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. Shameless plug. Anyway.
On Facebook.
That's right.
Check it out. Facebook, Two Noobs Talking, Facebook. Right. Get them on there.
Yeah.
If your kids are going to rot their brains on Facebook anyway, you might as well do it to us.
Oh, man.
All right,
love it.
Let's get to some more rotten news.
Let's do it.
Yahoo Finance article here, gentlemen. Fed wants to lower swipe fees, a potential blow to banks and credit card giants.
Yay.
The Federal Reserve last week proposed lowering the fees banks can charge retailers for processing debit card transactions, a victory for merchants who have long complained these swipe fees were too high and harmed consumers. These charges, also known as interchange fees, are paid by retailers, supermarkets, convenience stores, gasoline stations, and online merchants when consumers shop with their debit cards. Banks that issue the cards pocket the revenue made from the fees charged to the merchants. A section of the 2010 Dodd-Frank law called the Durbin Amendment asked the Fed to cap these rates for banks with at least $10 billion in assets at a reasonable and proportional cost, whatever the hell that means. In 2011, the regulator set the cap at 21 cents plus 0.05% of the transaction amount. The Fed is currently proposing cutting the cap to 0.144 cents plus 0.04% of the transaction amount. Today, the average debit card transaction is $50. The new proposed cap would total 17.7 cents on the average $50 transaction, down from almost a quarter on the same transaction today. Matt, you are so I'm going to talk to you first about this.
Being the finance guy that I am.
Yeah, that too, right.
No, I think this is huge. This is an absolute game changer and well needed, to be perfectly honest with you, Steve. That is a hidden cost, but it is a cost that goes through every time a swipe of a transaction happens on a credit card or debit card. somebody has to be paid for that service essentially, and that fee goes to that service. But it also eats at the essentially the people that have to do the actual swiping. That is a hidden cost that they have to incur, on their behalf, on that behalf. So it for that to be lowered by the Fed, excellent, love it, because it's like it lowers the cost by the, let's just say, like a local bar, local restaurant, local retail shopping, things along those lines. That's extra money now that they don't have to pay to the credit card companies that have to process these individual cards all the time. I never knew really until about, I would say, 7 or 8 years ago that there was always a credit card fee that was hidden underneath the costs. And it was just having a conversation with a guy that worked, my buddy Steve, who works over at a finance company, was telling me about this. I was like, that's why I always pay the tip in cash as opposed to swiping it through the credit card. And the reason being is that cost gets eaten away from the actual tip that the server should get. And it's like, didn't even think about that. And it's true. That is absolutely true. So I think it's an absolute game-changing win. I would love to see it eliminated. That's never going to happen, of course. But for that to be lowered is a real good positive step for the economy, for sure.
It certainly eats away at the merchants, but at the same time, there are many and gas stations and
Yeah.
this deals with debit card transactions. It's not the credit card transactions, which I was hoping it was, because you'll have gas stations that actually post, and John will be able to speak to this. They post two different prices.
Yeah.
One price is if you're paying with cash, the other one's if you're paying with a credit card, and the credit card one's always higher because they're passing that interchange or whatever fee on to you, the consumer. So ultimately, the consumer is going to bear the brunt in a lot of these instances.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I said, it's not the credit card that seems like they're dealing with here. It sounds like debit cards. But
yes,
John, your thoughts on this?
Oh, it's simple. Bleep travels downhill. In any kind of financial system, the customers they're always going to, the customers are, we are always going to pay for what they don't want to pay for. It's just that's why everything is more expensive at a gas station than it is at maybe a Walmart, because there's more Walmarts than said gas station. So your chocolate bar is a little less money. This is 100%. 100%. When I read, when you said this, Steve, I was like, this is what the Fed needs to be doing. They need to get out of the other dumb stuff, and they need to be doing. I want to read articles about the Fed actually doing good stuff for people. We hire you to do things, and you do them. And I am very critical of the Biden administration, extremely critical, but you did something. It makes sense. It makes sense. This is awesome. Well, this is what you were brought in office for.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Fed Governor Michelle Bowman, though, objected to the proposal, noting that consumers won't realize the savings while banks will see higher costs because, God knows we got to bail the banks out.
Yeah, who the hell cares?
While the proposal suggests that it could result in benefits to consumers, I am concerned that the costs for consumers through the form of increased costs for banking products and services will be real, while the benefits to consumers, such as lower prices at merchants, may not be realized. Merchants have long argued that the Fed set interchange rates higher than what is reasonable and proportional. They sued, but a federal appeals court sided with the Fed. Despite the loss, retailers have continued to argue the existing rates produce revenue to the card issuing banks that significantly exceed the reasonable and proportional requirement in the law. The Supreme Court agreed last month to hear a case that would force the Fed to lower the swipe fees. The banks argue any revamp needs to capture fraud and operational costs that the current regime excludes. They also say the Fed's most recent public assessment is based on 2019 data and does not justify any pricing changes. Who are we going to listen to here?
That's total bullshit. The whole thing that they're saying. This is the same. Okay, so the McAfee antivirus guy came out before 2019 and said, a majority of what we were selling you back in 2000 was BS about how people are going to break in your computer every day and blah blah blah. There's a minimal security that is needed for said computer. That's basically what he said. The guy who created an antivirus said that. Okay, they're saying the exact same thing. They're like, well, it's gonna hurt the banks, so you're just gonna have to take it on the chin because the banks are more important than you. That's basically what they're saying. It's a bunch of BS. That is what the former Fed line used to be, and just bleep travels downhill. You're just gonna have to take it. Sorry, because the banks are more important than you.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that definitely comes across from the Fed governor, I would say.
Yeah.
Nat, you love this. Hopefully it'll come to fruition. But I mean, do you see a future where the bank is now passing that charge on to us instead of to the merchant who passes on to us?
Oh gosh. Well, when you have banks already charging you for minimum balance fees on your own checking account, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised that happens, to be perfectly honest. Steve, with you, I mean, really, I mean, I remember even when that was happening, when that was like, you have like let's just say you have a small checking account balance. We have to charge you this monthly service fee of $6.95 to maintain your, really? It's like you have to have a minimum deposit of this, and we'll waive that fee when we have that minimum deposit. Really? It's like, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if that were to happen by the banks. Wouldn't be the least bit surprised, to be honest.
It puts me in mind of a South Park episode back from the when we had the collapse. I guess it was in 08.
Yeah, 08, yep.
And like Kyle or Stan or somebody took their birthday check to the bank, and he's like, oh, we're just gonna put it into this thing, and oh, it's gone. Well, where's my money? It's gone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I very vaguely remember a time when my money was my money.
Why do you think people stash it in their mattress, right, Johnny?
It makes sense. It makes total sense. It's not a conspiracy theory. It makes total sense. Don't give it all to the government. There was a time when all of us were alive when there wasn't ridiculous ATM fees or convenience fees or there were some fees, but I understand a banking fee. A banking fee of $1 on a transaction helps pay for that check to go into the system, and 18 people apparently have to verify it, and has to you need a lot of people type in. I'm okay with that because at least my name's on it and it's being taken care of. It's being put in my bank account. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
But the ridiculousness of now they want to charge you. They were charging you 25%. Now it's going to go, or 20 cents. They're going to put it down to 17. They should probably drop it to 10 cents. 10 cents seems more logical to me. If I swipe my debit card, it's only going to cost the person who owns the device, which that also doesn't make any sense to me because they get charged just to have that device. So they're getting charged they're getting charged not only for the swipe, but for the existence of the device. It's very weird to me how it's just nickel and diming all the way up. It's why things are so expensive.
Yeah, we pay the price for it because smart entrepreneurs out there figure out how to double charge you for everything, and they explain it to you in a way that absolutely. And they explain it to you in a way that you think, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. But when you really take it apart 20 minutes later, when it's too late, it's like, oh, that was dumb.
Welcome to the middle class of America.
If it exists.
Welcome to Joe Biden's China.
Yeah.
And this may be as good a time as any for us to tell you, viewers and listeners, that due to credit card fees, we must charge you a 2-cent listening fee per minute for every minute of Two Noobs that you consume.
Luckily, that's buried in between topics 2 and 3, so people won't hear about it, I guess. I don't know. But
Exactly. Flash that big red screen so everybody thinks we're not talking. Okay.
There you go.
Hit the 10-second ahead.
There you go.
10 seconds ahead, people.
10 seconds ahead. There you go.
All right. Topic 3. Topic 3, 10 seconds ahead. Roblox. This is a good one. I only know about Roblox because of my kids.
Yes.
I
didn't even know it existed.
There you go.
They order staff back to the office 3 days a week.
Ooh.
Or resign.
Dun, dun, dun.
Roblox.
Not again.
Yeah, right. Are we on the way to another CEO douche? Roblox, the $19 billion gaming giant known for creating virtual experiences.
$19 billion? Good grief. Okay.
Well, they've got 100 million kids playing and pumping Robux into, so.
Man,
but this virtual experience company has ordered employees back to the office 3 days a week or take a severance package to move away from remote working. Roblox's founder and CEO David Baszucki, I don't even care if that's how his name's pronounced, wrote in a blog post last week that it expects remote employees to return to its headquarters in San Mateo, California by summer 2024. The company went fully remote in March 2020 at the start of the pandemic. Well, no shit, Sherlock. As the pandemic stretched on, several companies announced they would support 100% remote work for everyone forever, Baszucki wrote. During this time, we had numerous deep discussions, and we kept coming back to the notion that ultimately Roblox is an innovation company, and we needed to get back to working in person to create our virtual experience.
LinkedIn buzzwords. Oh my God.
The mandate requires remote staff to start coming to the office Tuesdays to Thursdays by January 16th. Those needing to move have until July 15th.
Yeah.
At least they get till July, John, and will receive assistance for relocation costs. Employees who choose not to relocate have until April 15th to leave the company and will get a severance package according to their level, as well as 6 months of healthcare coverage. Zuki explained the decision came about because virtual workspaces were not as effective as physical spaces.
Oh my God!
Again, coming from a virtual company.
This is the Roblox CEO.
Yeah.
He wrote, "For many of us, Zoom fatigue is real. A 3-hour group review in person is much less exhausting than over video, and brainstorming sessions are more fluid and creative. While I'm confident we will get to a point where virtual workspaces are as engaging, collaborative, and productive as physical spaces, we aren't there yet."
Yeah.
I completely disagree.
A 3-hour meeting, whether it be on Zoom, Teams, or in person, is a 3-hour meeting is boring. No matter what there is nobody can hold that kind of energy. It's just not, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, completely agree, John. I remember when I was doing my Lean Six studies during the pandemic, 3-hour sessions once a week, and it was exhausting. It was absolutely exhausting, but that was done out of necessity, essentially. But yeah, Zoom fatigue is definitely a real deal.
Yeah.
But it is very interesting with this CEO. Now it's like he's changed his mind. Obviously, at the beginning part of that article that Steve read, we're going to support virtually everybody forever. And then all of a sudden...
No, just to be correct.
Consistent. Go ahead. Yeah.
What he said was several companies announced that they would support 100% remote work for everyone forever.
He was undecided.
Not him.
Now. Yeah.
Until now. Okay.
Right.
Well, then that's clear. But yeah, it's fascinating. Interesting that it seems to me he was reading the room a little bit there. And
better than most, I would say.
Better than most. Yes. I think that's probably the key point in this, that he was basically taking a temperature of his entire work staff. They're suffering from Zoom fatigue, whatever you want to call it. And they were, essentially craving coming back to work. All for it. No problem. The problem was with the remotes. The people you hired to do remote work. Now all of a sudden you got to fly out to San Mateo. You have until, was it April, right? Of 2024
July.
They had to decide by April, but if they were moving, they had to move by July.
by July. Now, luckily, relocation costs are covered, I believe, in that regard.
Correct,
But
yes.
Assistance.
they
They said
also-
assistance, not covered. So
assistance.
you're probably taking some hit your own.
Okay.
I know personally, as someone who has relocated a couple times, I got a full package of relocation, so I didn't have to worry about anything. I didn't have to worry about a moving truck. I didn't have to worry about a down payment. I didn't have to worry about anything other than physically moving. That was the
That's
only thing that was
fantastic.
on me, which was good. And if that's the case,
Yeah.
depends on if you want to move to California or not.
No.
That's the thing. If there are remote employees that live in nicer places than California, and I will say that without
I would say
worrying about
cheaper places.
cheaper and also
Yeah.
nicer. I mean,
No.
Yeah. Thinking of
uh,
like
I
Pennsylvania.
would
for
not
one.
move to California if I was forced to relocate. If they were like, this, you're either going to
Yeah.
relocate or lose your job, and you got to go to California. Now, sorry, I'm out. It's one
See ya.
place I won't move. Like it just
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 100% with you.
I'm
No, go ahead.
frustrated.
Go ahead.
I'm frustrated with the Zoom fatigue.
Mm.
Like because that's where the big argument is. So okay, so people have Zoom. Aren't they going to have "I work for you" fatigue after a while because
Right.
you're still working. Like I don't. I have to do meetings that are online all the time. We have to do. Thank God my company does them few and far between, and it's just only necessary stuff.
Right.
They're far better than that. So I don't have to be, I could see being every day, it'd be too much, but it'd be the same thing that I used to run meetings when I was a manager in person, and it was wasting people's times and bringing everybody in an hour early and paying them and boring them with just stuff that could probably, I've been taking management training just recently, and I'm starting to understand why I worked for so many failed managers, because we spent a lot of time talking about it and not a lot of time implementing it. And it seems that why don't these CEOs and these upper management just go back to school and learn the new school of learning? Learn how to teach the people that you have instead of living on this same idea. Oh, it worked for us before. It's not going to work for you now. Like you're literally going to lose half your staff. I have a feeling because you didn't think and you didn't move forward.
Yeah.
I'm with Matt on the, if you hired somebody to work remote since 2020,
Yeah.
and now you are saying, oh, now you got to move to San Mateo, California.
It's the dumbest thing
Okay,
I've
you're
ever
going to
heard.
give me assistance with relocation costs, but there is a non-monetary cost when you have to move. You are uprooting, especially if you have like kids.
Absolutely.
You have to uproot them all to
Yeah.
do that when you didn't think you were going to have to when you took the job potentially.
Bingo.
And yeah, okay, you're helping with relocation costs. Wherever you're moving from, unless you're moving from like San Francisco, you're not going to be cost of living
Yeah.
cheaper
Yeah.
in San
goes up.
Mateo.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
goes up.
So yeah, your moving costs might be covered, but from now on, as long as you live there, your cost of living, everything you pay for is going to be increased
Yeah.
as well. Who's going to
That's
cover for that? Because
Remember-
you forced me to have to move here.
Remember
Yeah.
we talked about that when I was on the road in Tennessee? I was shocked about the price increase of groceries from just grocery shopping in Texas. And I went,
Yeah.
it blew my mind. Like that is a big thing. If someone is living, let's say in Texas or Florida, where it seems like the prices are a little bit lower than other places, that's another 10 grand that you're not on just a weekly budget of food and anything else.
Yeah.
Any other, you can't even go out. And certain
Yeah.
places, and especially in California, you can't have a normal life where you like go out to the bowling alley and bowl. It's probably $150 just to take your child bowling there,
Yeah.
because
Right.
it's how inflated it's become.
Yeah. Years ago, this was before 9/11, gents. I was working, as you guys know, for Comcast at one point,
Mhm.
and they had a decision. They sold their cellular business at the time to SBC, Southwestern Bell Communications, and SBC then had a decision to make. Well, okay, we've got this call center in King of Prussia. We're going to have to make a decision. We're moving everybody over to a place in Oklahoma, and you have a decision to make. You
Mhm.
come with us or you're getting a severance. And I'm like 21 years old when this is happening. And I'm like, well, geez, I'm not going to go out to the middle of the country and have to deal with tornadoes all the time and, all that kind of
I
stuff.
don't want to go to
I don't
Oklahoma,
want to deal
David.
I don't want to go there. There's nothing to do in Oklahoma outside of like going to work and maybe going to, a church or whatnot. But it's like, it's one of
Rodeo.
those, yeah, or the rodeo. But it's
You're
one of
only
those
like
things.
an hour and a half away from Dallas, so you get the night
Well, there you go. Yeah.
if you want it.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. Point was, it was a decision that had to be made. It was a decision that was made by the higher ups, and that's a decision that, if they're trying to reduce costs, fine. But that comes with a huge, you're going to lose people. Then you got to rehire them. That's additional cost for, for the employer. So,
But
yeah,
the thing is, at that time,
yeah.
remote work was not
Not even on the
available.
on the
Existence, yeah.
radar.
So
Yeah.
those types of decisions had to be made.
Yeah.
Now you are telling people who,
Mm-hmm.
were working remotely,
Yeah.
happily, thinking
Mhm.
everything was good. Now
Yep.
you were telling them they've got to move. Just like it's the old days. It's
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's
backwards
hard.
thinking.
That's
I
hard for a lot of people on the remote side of things. Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't understand. Let's just take this podcast. If we were all living in the same place, we would probably be doing it
Yeah, in
in a
person.
room together in
Mhm.
person, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
How do we become more creative because we're standing next to each other than we do in the normal realm of how we communicate throughout a week to put on a show? That
Well, our
it's
brain cells,
that's
function
what I'm saying.
better.
Like,
They
how does
go from
that?
person to person.
That's
Yeah.
one of the things that made me laugh when I saw that. Well, we're creative. I'm creative. Matt's creative.
Mhm.
Steve's creative. We've been creative, and we don't all
Mhm.
live in the same place. And we do it
Yeah.
over video. We don't do it a lot over video, which I could understand the Zoom fatigue if we were doing it every day. It might tax on you, but if we were literally meeting every day, it would tax on us too. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
Mhm.
I think they're
Absolutely.
one and the same. I've been in virtual meetings and I've been in in-person meetings. I prefer to be in a virtual meeting
Mm.
because in certain ones my video camera's off and I can, you know, put one headset
Mhm.
off and stretch a little bit and not stand up or
Mhm.
sit down. Like I don't have to be so attentive at certain times
Sure.
than you would be
Sure.
in a physical meeting. That used to get me. I'd like not like that. I don't like being in person for that long. I don't like people. I've said
Yeah.
this a million times in this episode.
I think the Zoom fatigue thing is just there's probably something else going on under the surface, and Zoom fatigue is just an excuse.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the way I read that.
Well, you
Yeah, it's
can't.
hard to say. I've suffered through it, guys. When
Mhm,
you have a class 3 hours and that's the only way you could communicate, and your intent and focus is on that camera right up in front of there for 3 hours, and you have to talk to like 9 other people, 10 other people, whatever the case may be, and it's like you don't
mhm.
have the energy to do it. It's 8 o'clock at night. You're kind of worn down and tired. It's kind of like, I really don't want to look at this camera. I really don't.
Well, yeah, but at 8 o'clock, if it's in a class 8 o'clock in person, are you
There is a
is that
certain
going to be a
energy
change? Like,
that's
oh, I
yeah,
really don't
that's the
want to talk to
thing.
these people.
Yeah,
I
I think
would.
it's one. Yeah, it could happen on both sides of the aisle, no question about it. I just think it's there. The Zoom fatigue, Steve, I think is a little bit. I guess you could say more real in the fact that your focus is on the camera and the camera alone, as opposed to like if you're in person, you see other people, you can get distracted by looking at somebody else talking or something like that, and you're more engaged in person as opposed to only remaining focused on the camera. I mean, that's the only thing I could think
I'm
of.
not disagreeing with you that Zoom fatigue
Right.
isn't a thing.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I think this guy's using it as an excuse.
As an
Yes.
excuse.
to
I
bring
agree.
people in.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the real driver behind what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's
agree.
just
I agree
the way
with
I see
that.
it.
But there is a great argument for, like, I'm taking, like I said earlier, I'm taking management classes. If I had
Mhm.
to, would I be as willing after working a 12-hour day to get in a car, go to the university,
Hmm.
and take that class? Would I have the go get to do that?
Yeah.
It's a question to everybody thinking about that. Or is it easier just to flip up the laptop and be like, all right, I'm gonna knock out a 2 hour
Yeah.
course and move further to my goal. Steve is absolutely right. He's using fatigue as his backbone of the argument, and that's what makes him a douche. But I don't think he's handling it in a douchey way at all.
It's interesting.
Unless he's ripping people from the rest of the United States and be like, we're moving to California because I'm rich and it doesn't bother me. That's the one thing we don't know. It didn't tell us in the story if he's doing that.
Yeah.
If he's doing that, he's a total douche.
John, you could definitely tell he's on the razor's edge. I think he's reading the room, but he's not quite sure how. Okay, I'm going to set this particular policy in place. Now I'm going to see what's going to happen with my workforce. You know, that kind of it. And that's risky, no question about it. But I will say this. The other CEOs that we've examined over the course of this podcast have not done it right. And we've incredibly ripped them, deservedly so. So I think we're giving benefit of the doubt to this guy in the fact that he's kind of setting a course on that razor's edge. And it's like, okay, I can see it. But at the same time, it's like, compared to other CEOs, it's like, wow, okay, this is the closest we've been. Is this the right way to go? It really is night and day. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately for him, my son, who is a consumer of his virtual product, is not happy. And many Roblox fans are apparently not happy with some of the changes to the game. So their whole thing seems to be on the downslide. This might just be another blip on the radar. 161 episodes with you two in the same room. I might have choked one or two of you.
There would have definitely been a fight.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I don't think it would have been me, and I'm the one that normally took punches in the face for you guys. But I am not a fighter. I'm a lover. I hate people, but I'm not. I love you two guys. So
well, look, that's another benefit of remote work. You prevent physical violence in the workplace.
Yes.
Well, it is a miracle, Steve, that when you and I did it live, you did try and threaten me in person.
What are you talking about?
I told you guys to behave.
That's a lie.
But you're not.
That's
listening.
a lie.
No. Lies.
Lies. You're a liar.
Lies.
Steve, stop picking on that. I'm sure you heard that your whole life with Glenn. Stop picking on Glenn. But I want to.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen.
To be honest, he brought it upon himself, John. I mean, when
Steve
he roots for Dallas, come on.
a crew just to pick on Glenn, I have a feeling. He went out in the world, it was like, I need some guys.
John, when you root for the Dallas Cowboys and you live in Philadelphia, I'm sorry, it's warranted.
He doesn't live in Philly anymore. We can let him go.
Yeah, he lives in North Carolina. I fail to see the problem here.
I'm not typically a victim shamer, but in this case,
I'm not going to argue with you. I love the kid, but it is what it is. Take your lickings.
Why don't we get into topic 4? We're going to jam it in there with 3 articles about airplanes.
And if you don't laugh when Steve says that, you're not a part of this.
And the funny part I just realized is this first article is about jamming it in there on an airplane.
Is.
Oh God, here we go.
So, CNBC article, United Airlines will debut a new boarding order to save time.
Whoa.
United
Let's fly
Airlines,
United. Yeah.
really. United Airlines changed its boarding order last week by letting economy class passengers who have selected window seats to board before those with middle and aisle seats. Somebody was watching Mythbusters a decade ago.
I
Yes.
love it.
I don't know why it took you 10 years to figure that out, but the
Yeah.
company said the change could shave 2 minutes off the boarding process. Beginning with Group 4, passengers with window seats will board first, followed by those with middle seats and then aisle seats. People on the same reservation, such as families, can board together, United said.
Oh,
The new boarding process will be implemented on all domestic flights and some international flights.
Genius.
brilliant. Absolute brilliant.
Matt, I'm sure you know Mythbusters showed in an episode, I think it was 2014,
Yeah.
the most efficient way to board an airplane is to board from the windows in.
Absolutely.
And finally, someone
By the grace of the good Lord.
Can
Yeah,
we,
it's brilliant. Yeah. Go ahead,
can we
Johnny.
hope and pray that United flight times go down, prices go up, their stock hits the roof, and American and Delta and Southwest all go, we're going to do this. That's what I'm praying for. Every night
Yes.
before I go to bed is that this is a success so that all airlines
Oh,
go,
dear Lord.
we should probably been doing this for a while.
Oh, dear Lord, please let us.
Every night before I go to bed,
Every
I get on
night.
my knees and just pray
dear
that
Lord.
this is a
Please.
success.
Please let United's boarding process be a success. Well,
Exactly.
My
Good.
concern is this going to be another one of those deals where it's just going to end up being random anyway, because you get credit card rewards folks who are going to be able to
I
board
hope
first,
not.
and they're in the aisle seats and blah, blah,
yeah. Yeah.
So, if you did it absolutely right, which I think the Mythbusters showed, if you do it absolutely right, you just board windows. I think there is a process that they call it pyramiding.
Mhm.
But if you do it right, there will be order to it, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
My concern is with exceptions of, again, credit card reward bullshit and groupings. I don't know that boarding right now has any sort of rhyme or reason to it, because
It
I'm in
doesn't
group
seem
5
to.
by the time I get on I'm in group 5 by the time I get on the airplane. There's people already way in the back and over here and over here and over here.
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
what's
Awful.
And
Yeah.
I just hope that this changes that. I'm not optimistic that I would have hoped this boarding change would have cut a little more than 2 minutes
2
off
minutes.
the boarding time, but because boarding takes
Hopefully.
a long ass time.
It sure
Yes.
does. And especially disembarking the plane, it takes even worse. I think it's even worse getting off the plane, to be perfectly honest, because everybody gets, what do people do? Everybody gets up, they're trying to search for their bags, they're crawling all over themselves, and they finally eventually get out of the, and it's like, if you're in the back of the plane, you're totally screwed. Completely and totally screwed. You don't see your bag until like 20 minutes later, when it's like, oh God.
The biggest issue there, I think, is the people who put their crap towards the back, and then
Yes.
sit up front,
Way up in the front. Yeah.
because then they have to go back to get their bag.
Yeah,
So
that's-
if they were
no sense. Yeah.
But if you
if they
were
were
bored,
good people,
Yeah.
they would wait for everybody else to clear out before they go and get their bag.
Absolutely.
but if you're
Yeah.
boarding the way they're boarding, that means that you, hopefully, they can direct. If you're in the back seat on the window, your bag
Yep.
goes there, and then
Right.
your bag goes there, your bag goes there, your bag goes there, and all the way up to the front of the plane on both sides, and then the middle seat's board, and then your bag goes there, your bag goes there. Like it's not
Yeah.
gonna. It's. I hope it's going to create a more organized level to where you're not going to have a douchebag that puts his bag. Why would you put your bag in the back of a Boeing 747 and then you go sit in the front seat? You're an idiot if you do that. Like, get it close,
Or
bro.
the
You're like
reverse.
2 seats close. If there's no room, you can at least.
Yeah.
Or stop packing all your shit. That's my other problem.
Yeah. Do it on a book bag.
That's the bigger
Yeah.
bigger issue to me. I think the
You don't need
boarding
that
process should create that. But there's the I'm special people who try to flout the carry-on rules.
Well, hopefully
Right?
we are
I'm the
slowly
rewards
getting
member.
rid of them.
Ugh.
I'm a very high rewards member for a certain hotel chain. And I would bet dollars to donuts I am not that douchebag. And I have more points than most of these douchebags.
But I need this bag in addition to my carry-on because I need to, have all my crap with me.
Yeah.
No, when I go overnight,
Yeah.
I pack a duffel bag and it goes
Yeah.
under the seat in front of me,
You-
so I don't have to
you
deal
need
with all the
nothing.
overhead.
It's
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
now let's go to the next one here.
Yeah.
Rob report. I have no idea what the fuck that is.
I have
Okay.
no idea,
But
but
John, you sent it to me.
yes, I did. I have no idea either. It was the only one that was free. Compared to
Nice.
the free thing, so I found it.
All right. Well, this European airline will offer an adults-only zone on its plane this fall.
Mm.
I will confess, when I first read that headline, I did a Matt, oh my, in my mind.
Me too.
Wait a minute. Wait for it. Wait
Me
for
too.
it.
I was like, what are they doing pervertedly on this
Wait a
airline?
minute.
Let me read
Wait
that.
for it. Oh my.
I'm picturing like it's at the back of the plane with a black curtain.
Disco
Dudes in
ball,
trench coats.
disco ball, a little bit of music. Yeah.
Dudes in trench coats come back there.
Oh my. What's going on back there?
Sunglasses
Oh
and
my.
low brimmed hats. I understand.
Flashing triple X's above the.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, my
This
God.
is not what's happening, people. This is
Not
what we
what's
thought was
happening. Not what's happening at all.
So thankfully,
man.
the Rob report informs us that Corendon Airlines is launching an adult-only zone on flights between Amsterdam and Curacao this November. The only adult section is reserved exclusively for passengers 16 and up. It will be situated at the front of Corendon's Airbus A350 jets with a wall or curtain separating it from the rest of the aircraft. There will be 93 regular seats and 9 extra-large seats with more legroom available in the quiet, child-free haven. And that is the key for the adults-only section. The direct
Fascinating.
flights from Amsterdam to Curacao will take about 10 hours. Good God.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
You definitely need an adults-only section for that.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
To sit in the adults-only section, passengers will have to pay an extra reservation fee of $49 for a standard seat or $109 for an extra-large seat. I don't have any problem with that.
Totally worth
Sure.
that.
That's
Yeah.
probably that either,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Matt has the experience of
Yeah.
traveling alongside an
100% go for that. That would not even the extra fee. That's like something I'll take on. Like that, even if I'm working for a company, let's just say in Europe, I'm eating that immediately. It's like, are you kidding me? Absolutely, I would do that. Absolutely.
And speaking as a parent who has traveled on an airplane with a small child, I have no problem with it either because my daughter was, I want to say, a year and a half when we flew to Disney World.
Oh wow! Okay,
in 2012,
12ish. Okay,
2012.
Okay.
And I was freaked out about it.
Oh, I bet.
I didn't want to be that person. But
you don't want to be that.
How dare you bring that girl on that plane?
Yeah, exactly. But she was very good. The only time she ever had a problem was on landing. The air pressure change just
freaked her out.
happens.
Yeah.
So she cried for 3-4 minutes, but other than that, she did pretty well.
There you go.
So I didn't have to. I don't. Nobody gave us dirty looks that I could see. So I think they were all fairly understanding.
Well, and to be honest with you, Steve, that's their problem.
Yeah.
It's
also,
like if you have
if you're on an airplane like that and you're
I mean, come on. Like it happens.
I mean, I understand the irritating baby, like if the baby's crying for all 10 hours, you just totally
Yes.
Yeah, that sucks.
I say this all the time. Me and my wife had this conversation all the time because we have a ton of dogs and we have a ton of small children in here. And you can hear the children run. I'm more irritated with the dogs that aren't parented well than I am the children. The children should run. Like I have no issue with children at all. Like you will never see me be like, "Oh, you need to control that kid better." No, they need to run. Like kids need to run all day. like until they fall asleep. Like have fun, enjoy
Yeah.
life. And if you're on an airplane
Yeah.
and just if you're on an airplane and you're judgmental, you need to either become a parent or
And
remember
check
when
yourself
you
at the
were a
doors.
parent
Yeah.
and figure it out that
Yeah.
the baby's
Mhm.
gonna cry because the baby wants to cry, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's totally
Well, I
fine.
think the bigger issue is when you have like toddler or
Yeah.
older
Yeah.
children and you have the parents who don't control them.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
I just picture Arnold in Kindergarten Cop when a kid's kicking his seat and he
Yeah, no,
turns around with
totally.
the pencil and he's like, "This is going to be you." Um,
Dad's had
you
that
know,
experience on a flight before. He'll tell you a story about a kid that was
Ugh.
just running up and down the aisle.
ugh.
Can you imagine? And it's like, I mean,
And
what do
that's
you
so
do?
hard. That's so hard
Yeah.
because you can't tackle the kid, and the parent's not
Won't
allowed to
sit
tackle the
still.
kid. So
Yeah.
What do you do? So it was brutal. Absolutely
No.
brutal.
So I get the idea here.
I love
I'm
it.
a little concerned. The wall, if the wall was separating it, good. A curtain?
Curtain?
I don't
Yeah,
know if that's going to fix anything.
yeah.
Did you know they're serving cookies back here? With the lane way back in the day in Seinfeld. That was great. What is that commotion back there?
Right? Right?
Yeah.
The curtain is not soundproof, people.
No, it's
No,
not.
no,
It
No.
definitely is not.
No.
Neither is a jet engine, but that's another
Yeah.
story.
So it starts next week. We'll see what kind of early returns it gets. Maybe we'll see it
Yeah, maybe do a follow-up. Maybe
more
we'll see.
often. We'll
Yeah.
see. I doubt I'm going to encounter it next time I fly. But
Yeah.
who knows?
So what do we
Maybe
got
I'll
with the
get-
third? We got a third
Yeah,
jam.
maybe I'll get the boarding process. Now the
Oh, there you
third
go.
one.
Yeah.
Boy, we saved the best one for last.
Yes.
Um,
This is how you complete
CNN
it, jamming in
article.
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. Off-duty pilot accused of trying to shut off airliner's engines mid-flight said he took magic mushrooms 48 hours before the incident.
Yikes.
Oh God.
Yikes.
For all you people who advocate drug legalization,
Yeah. Let's do
So-
that while a guy's flying an airplane. Anyway, let's.
right. All right. Joseph D. Emerson, 44, attempted to
boy.
cut fuel to a plane's engines while the flight was en route from Washington State to San Francisco. Of course, this happened over California.
Of course.
Emerson told investigators he had consumed, quote, magic mushrooms approximately 48 hours prior to the incident on the plane.
Oh.
Emerson told police he thought he was dreaming and believed pulling the handles of a fire extinguishing system, which cuts fuel to the aircraft's engines, would cause him to wake up. Emerson was riding in the cockpit in a jump seat, as is permitted for off-duty pilots, and a confrontation began when he reached for the fire controls. As Emerson reached for the controls, one of the pilots grabbed Emerson's wrists, and the other pilot reported that they wrestled with Emerson for a few seconds before Emerson stopped and said he was okay. Emerson was not able to pull the handles all the way down
Thank God.
before the pilots intervened.
Oh.
After the cockpit confrontation, Emerson was taken to the rear of the aircraft, but then attempted to grab the handle of an emergency exit during the flight's descent.
Oh my God.
He has since been jailed on federal and state charges.
Thank
He
God.
probably should also have a broken jaw, and I'm kind of sad that he doesn't.
Yeah. Johnny, where were you,
'Cause
for
if you-
God's sakes? Anyway.
if you grab my fuel in my plane, I'm knocking you out.
Damn straight.
Guys, that is the worst case scenario. Could you imagine even being on that flight? Let's just
Is it-
stop to think about that for a minute. I mean, my God, that would scare the daylights out of me
But this is
for that to happen.
this is exactly why these little things we talk about the federal government, we talk about corruption, we talk about all those things about your pal and your buddy. Like, this is where jump seats need to disappear. If you're a pilot, you can get a free flight, get back there, because we don't know what you do on your private time. Like, why is there cockpit entrance to a dude that isn't working? That makes no sense to me. They would be like, hey, you used to work for the company. Get in the truck. We'll go for a ride.
Yeah.
Well,
What-
why? What's the point?
What's the point? Yeah.
Hey, random guy, you want to drive the Zamboni today?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what? That doesn't happen. So why does it happen? I don't understand.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't even imagine if it was international. It's bad enough it's Washington State to California.
Yeah.
Well, they
they're going
did. I think the article did say they did an emergency landing, I believe, in Portland.
okay.
So they
Oh,
didn't
that's a
even make it
They
terrible
all
didn't
the
make
place
a
way.
to
full
That's a terrible
Oh,
place to land.
Yeah.
that was that was the idea all along.
Oh, that was the
John.
idea all
Exactly.
along. Don't oh my
Yikes.
god.
I'll get
Oh,
arrested in Portland where they don't give a shit about criminals.
Yikes.
All right.
That
is
dude
that
would be free.
is
He
that
would
one
be
of the
given a bag of mushrooms and sent on his way.
the worst
There you
flight
go.
I've ever had? The worst flight I've ever had, gents, was I mean, it was act of God related. It was I'm going from Philly to Orlando, but they stopped in Jacksonville due to thunderstorms. So it was
Mhm.
actually due to like, okay, we're going to let this cell go by first
Yes.
before we have to land through, a thunderstorm and a downpour of rain.
Yes.
Okay, smart call by the airplane, by the airline in that regard, and by the pilot saying like, okay, we're going to divert to Jacksonville. We're not going to do this. Pain in the ass, but at the same time, it's like smart call.
No, it's definitely
That's
worth
probably
it.
been the quote unquote worst flight I've ever had. Gents, worst flight
Same-
you have ever had.
Same with me. I was flying from Philly to Las Vegas.
Okay.
And the winds were so heavy that the plane had to fly up and around and land in California and wait
Ooh.
for 4 hours. So I left it sometime in the afternoon. I didn't get to Vegas till 2-3 in the morning. It was a very mine wasn't the worst of the day. My partner, who I was meeting in there, when we were picking our truck back up when we were driving to Arizona, his plane got struck by lightning. Between Philly, he had a connection flight Philly to Dallas. It had to land real quick. It wasn't a connection. It was just it landed, dropped a couple people off, and then flew to Vegas.
Yeah.
He was coming from North Carolina. It got struck by lightning, so he was stuck in Dallas airport for as long as I was stuck in California. So we both arrived at the same time and laughed about it because it was. But mine didn't get struck by lightning. It was just winds.
Yeah. Steve?
My worst flight was probably, well, I'll say flight.
Mm.
Worst flight, I had a deposition to do in Chicago and I took a day trip. So I flew out in the morning, did the deposition, coming back because it was kind of a busy day. I hadn't really eaten or had a lot to drink.
Oh no.
So I was thirsty as hell.
Oh no.
But the whole flight, it wasn't a thunderstorm or anything. It was just bad air. We were just,
So you're
bouncing up and down.
Just
Oh,
turbulence the whole
God.
time. Yeah.
Turbulence the whole time. And so the service cart did not come down at all.
Oh.
And I was dying of thirst.
Oh
whole
no.
flight.
That's the
God.
worst. You can't even get a
That's
bottle of water.
awful.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. And the worst part was I was like one of the last couple rows, so I could see the beverage cart from where I was sitting.
Can I get that?
Please.
Can I have it?
Do you mind if I walk over there and just grab a bottle?
Throw it to me. Throw it to
Please,
me.
for the love of God.
Yeah.
God.
Fortunately, none of our stories here involved somebody taking magic mushrooms and trying to dump
Yes.
fuel over the.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I-
Yeah.
That I really
Blows
just
my
don't.
mind.
I'm with you, John. Why is somebody who could have consumed magic mushrooms flying in the cockpit?
Yeah.
Where, important flight stuff is going on.
Good,
Yes.
good that he was arrested, thrown in jail, all that kind of stuff. I mean,
Yes,
that is
yes.
100%. I'm glad that
I-
happened.
Hey,
I'm just
I'm
mad his
glad-
jaw didn't get broken.
Yeah.
I'm glad the pilots saw what he was
Yes,
doing
yes.
at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Good,
mean,
good for
I would
them.
imagine pulling this lever is not a quick,
I
No,
love what they
things where you
did.
gotta,
Yeah.
I love what
Yeah,
they
go ahead,
did
Tom.
where the story tells they didn't just beat him up. They grabbed him and they took him to the back of the plane where he can't do anything. Like he got timed out so quick. Like you're in timeout and
Yeah.
you are at the back of probably with 3 or 4 stewardess watching him. It's like if you move, shoot him kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
Do
but
us a
when they
favor.
took him to the back of the plane, that's when he also reached for an emergency
Yeah.
exit.
Oh,
They had to cuff him.
that's
Yeah.
where the broken jaw should have happened between the pilot and the back of the plane. Someone who
Yeah.
will never be named should have just And
right across the face. Yeah.
he's sleeping.
Maybe-
we'll land. It's fine.
Maybe they should have just let him open the exit and kicked his ass out and then shut it again.
Yeah.
I,
You know,
Oh my
be
I
done.
would not be calling them bad people if that.
Exactly.
You smush
Oh my
a
God.
spider when he walks across your table. I mean, are
Hey.
humans any different?
Well, only ones that act stupidly, Johnny. You know what I'm saying? Only ones that act stupid, like this guy. So
yeah, exactly. Don't
Yeah.
don't do mushrooms, kids.
please.
Yes.
While you're watching us on
Yeah,
the
and
net.
Aaron Rodgers. Talking to you too.
Yeah.
That's probably where
Yeah,
I got
just
the idea
FYI.
from.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers does magic mushrooms. I should.
I should totally do it.
Oh gosh.
Oh, can you imagine? They're gonna be testing pilots for that now.
Oh.
Jeez. Our flights.
All right, well, we
last a lot
jammed it in
longer.
there. Yeah, I know. Right? We have now jammed it in there in the adult section of the airplane. So we will
my.
leave you
Magic
with that.
mushrooms.
With magic mushrooms that conclude episode 161 of Two Noobs Talking. Gentlemen, do we have anything further to tell the masses or laments on the end of the Philly season?
I guess go Flyers now, right? I guess we're turning that page.
Well, we
Or
still
maybe
have
go
the-
Eagles still, but yeah,
Yeah,
Eagles are
we
still
got
there.
the
Yeah.
Eagles.
Yeah.
I don't
Still
know.
got the Eagles. Yeah.
Oh.
Flyers, as of press time, we're down 6-2 to the Ducks. Not a good sign. But overall, their play has improved.
Yeah,
It's not
they're
too
doing
bad.
better.
Sports
Yeah.
is actually
don't-
fun
they
to
don't-
watch in Philly. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to continue with that.
There you go.
And I'm not watching a single second of the World Series. Just
Yeah, same.
No.
Yeah.
they can go to hell. All right. Well, with that, we wish you adieu and enjoy the adults only section on the airplane. Till next week.
Oh
we'll see you
my.
then.
Hey everyone, thank you for spending time with us here at Two Noobs Talking. If you want more episodes of Two Noobs, our entire catalog of our podcasts are available here on our YouTube channel, or you could search for us out on your favorite podcast listening platforms such as Apple, Google, and Samsung Podcasts, along with YouTube Music and iHeartRadio, among others. Hey, while you're there, would you mind leaving us with a 5-star review? Have a great week, and we'll see you again next week with another great episode of Two Noobs Talking. Take care.